Kia ora. My name's Rebekah Galbraith and I'm going to talk a little bit about my essay, Good Luck Babe. I'm really delighted to have my work included in this anthology, alongside many incredible writers from across the country, and I'd like to thank Landfall editor Lynley Edmeades and Otago University Press for creating such a wonderful space for the contemporary essay to flourish. My essay focuses on the personal and political circumstances around queer conception from my perspective as a single lesbian approaching motherhood. I started putting this essay together during my first pregnancy, which ended in a miscarriage at 8 weeks. When I began to think about becoming a mother, I quickly realised that parenthood is not a well-known aspect of queer history, and yet as much as it is true that in being queer we have always been here, we have always had children. I've continued to develop this piece of writing to the point where this essay is now an excerpt of a longer work in progress about the recent history of queer parenthood in our country and overseas. One thing that really strikes me about the realities of queer parenthood is how our sense of visibility is directly tied to legislative reform, whether that's homosexual law reform, the Human Rights Act, Civil Union Act, and marriage equality. It's not that our ability to construct our families is quote-unquote allowed by these decisions, but rather our conversations around social infertility and queer conception have become easier to have, even if those results are still fairly mixed. A few weeks after I learnt Good Luck Babe would be published in Strong Words 4, I was pregnant again. By the time this anthology is out in the world, I really hope to be holding my newborn son. I've kept a diary and taken self-portraits across this pregnancy as a way of remembering how time has passed across my body as I've carried him. But I found that as common as miscarriage is, it is much harder to talk about than the practicalities of how a single lesbian might find themselves pregnant. Like many queer readers this week, I was saddened to learn about the death of the poet Andrea Gibson. Yesterday, I watched a short clip of Gibson talking about receiving their terminal diagnosis, where they reminded us, quote, "Don't be so afraid of losing life that you forget to live it." So before I read a short bit from my essay, I want to take a moment to acknowledge anyone facing the loneliness and unknowns of queer fertility and the pain of loss. However impossible today might seem, you're not alone, and wherever you are on your journey, I hope these words bring you comfort. My period is over a week late when Lucy Jones is interviewed on Saturday morning. Her book, Matrescence, on the metamorphosis of pregnancy, childbirth and motherhood, examines the discombobulating and dramatic shift of pregnancy on the body, the mind, the corporeality of conception through to birth, and the physiological impact of transitioning into motherhood. Matrescence, a process of becoming. As Jones points out, there are highly oppressive ideals around maternalism in our late capitalist, patriarchal society. There's loneliness in new motherhood, tendrils of shame fusing the hostile and profound. What is wrong with me? Zombie cells of a fetus live on for decades in their formerly pregnant host, crossing the soft boundaries of the placenta to nest in the breast, heart, lungs, brain tissue and caesarean scars. A hijacking of the hormonal system. Are they aiding recovery and healing, or are they simply byproducts of pregnancy? No one knows. But it illustrates Jones's point that the transition to motherhood is under-researched and misunderstood. As far as knowledge gaps go, it is monstrous. At 7 weeks, baby is furled like a ponga, no bigger than a coffee bean from crown to rump. Little paddles start to nub their way forward, stretching into arms and legs over the coming months. Their brain begins to form alongside their heart, which will beat roughly twice as fast as yours. Baby's face doesn't look like much now, but the yolk and pole will be visible to your sonographer. Black pebbles will become eyes and nostrils, tiny divots for ears. Exposed and vulnerable, the passive sweep of pregnancy. Nothing to do but watch from the passenger's seat and hope for the best. Kia ora, and thank you. I hope you enjoy this collection.